the preparation and list of contrast tools. When I work with lighting in a scene, I have some rules. And these rules help me to create volume within the scene so that the image looks attractive and the main characters will be separated from the background. And to achieve this, I use various different tools and methods to work with contrast. During the scouting process, I look at the location and analyse what kind of natural contrast exists and what can I add. There are several things that inform my decision when it comes to contrast. These are script and concept, limitations of the location, my technical abilities, my style and visualization of the actual script. If you work alone or with a team, you will have a concept of your video anyway. The concept of the video for a DP means that at least you will know how you will light the specific scene, i.e. with low-key light or high-key light. Will you work with natural light or with light sources? Will it be night or day? These specific things can limit or inform you in choosing the tools for achieving contrast. Perhaps you will want to recreate a reference shot, which will motivate the type of contrast you're trying to achieve. Or maybe you want to shoot and contrast two color temperatures. Great, you will need two light sources with cold and warm color temperatures. Or maybe you want to shoot with thick and thin atmosphere, so just make sure that the smoke can be used at the location and that the smoke machine has enough power to fill the room. What is the main thing I'm trying to tell you? It is very important to know what kind of contrast you are trying to achieve before you get on set. As a minimum, before the shoot, you should have a few reference shots and a checklist of what contrast tools you will use. It is best to prepare for specific types of contrast in advance. Motivated key light. The second principle of working with light is, if you want to avoid lighting that looks fake in the scene, then your lights must be motivated. What does it mean for your lights to be motivated? The viewers should understand where the light is coming from. Is the light from the sun, or from a practical light like a lamp? The best way to justify your light sources is to show the light source within the frame. I will show you. For example, we want to add warm light in this scene to achieve warm and cold contrast. I can just add extra warm light and be done. But this will look fake, because the light is not motivated, as we don't see the real source of this light. If I add a warm practical light, for example, the viewer will think, oh man, this light is from that floor lamp. It looks so natural. This is what our brain will tell us. On the close-up shot, we will still have a warm backlight, but pay your attention to the background. I added an extra warm point on the fireplace in order to continue the theme of motivated warm light. If I left the warm light only on the girl, it would look a little fake. This is motivated key light. When you work with motivated light, don't forget one simple thing. The temperature of the light source must be the same as the natural light source that you are intensifying or getting motivation from. Let's look at a few examples of students' works that have ignored the motivation of light. Look at this shot. What do you think? Where in the scene is the main key light? I think that this light is from the background. This looks somewhat like light from the sun. Okay, but what kind of light illuminates the character from the camera? I'm not sure. This doesn't look like daylight, but rather just a bright light flowing through a light source. This is unmotivated light. The unmotivated light doesn't have any light source, as we don't see this source in the frame. You can add any light source that you want, but remember, motivated light looks much more professional and high-end than unmotivated lighting. This shot still looks quite lovely, but the key light looks unnatural. My mind doesn't believe that this is real sunlight because I didn't see the window where this light was coming from. Train yourself to justify your lighting with real light sources by showing them in the scene. Trust me, your work will look better. It is enough to show the source where the light is coming from only once within a scene, as the audience are able to make the connection as to where the lighting is coming from in the close-ups. It is not necessary to show it in every shot. I know that some of my works have used unmotivated light, and this should not confuse you, because I do recommend that you show the light sources when you have this opportunity to on set. Some works were filmed at night, and I didn't have a bright window to show the natural lighting source. When you work with additional light sources, and the natural light source is not visible in the frame, it is not a mistake. Just try to make the light look natural. Showing natural sources of light in the frame is basically a cheat code you can use to help the light look a little more natural. I love this example of motivated lighting. Just look at that floor lamp. Without it, the backlight would look foreign. Or this shot, the light which we see from the window looks like natural light. If my student didn't show this window, the scene would look totally different and without motivated light. Working with wide and close-up shots. What do you think? Is there a difference between lighting close-ups, mid-shots, and wide shots? Yes, there is. When we work with wide shots, we analyse the environment of the scene. We look at the emphasis. When we work with close-ups and mid-shots, we pay our attention on how the light looks on the characters, the emotions of the actors, and many other details related to the characters themselves. This is the key idea. The wide shots work with emphasis and actions. The mid and close-up shots work with emotion and aesthetics. Sometimes, when we light the wide shot, we don't think about how hard this light will be on the characters. Of course, I'm thinking about softening the lighting, but if you look at the mid shot, you will feel the difference. What is going on? In the wide shots, I focus on highlighting via the use of hard light, but when I work with mid and close-up shots, the light looks a little softer. This is simply due to the fact that the close-ups with hard lighting look awful and unflattering on the subject. For close-ups, we no longer need to highlight things in the frame, especially things in the background. This is because the viewer will pay attention to the character's face and their performance and evaluate the appearance of the character. To help the actor or character look more attractive, I tend to make the light less harsh. Close-ups and general wide shots have different objectives, but there is one nuance. You cannot use hard light in the wide shot, but then in the close-up use super soft light, as the difference will be very obvious to the viewer. Rather, you need to make the graduation of hardness very subtle. Deceive the viewer carefully, as they will notice an obvious difference in softness. Don't be afraid to make shots with different lighting hardness, but in reasonable and subtle shifts to the viewer's proportions.